going to do 6.6, day 1. And our learning target for today, solve radical equations. And these are just equations that have radicals in them. So you've been working with those all chapter, so they have radicals like that in them. So we're going to have some steps to do this. Alright, for the first step, isolate the radical on one side of the equation. You just do your opposites to do this, just like when you're isolating x. Okay, our second step is we're going to raise each side of the equation to the same power to eliminate the radical. So if it was just the square root, we would raise both sides to the second power, and that would eliminate the radical. Alright, and the third step, we're going to just solve the equation. When you use this technique of squaring both sides, you need to check your answers. And I'll show you how to do that. Sometimes when you use this technique, you get what we call extraneous solutions. They look like solutions, but they don't work when you plug them back in. Alright, so let's look at our first example. We're going to solve this equation. Alright, so step 1, we're going to isolate the radical. Okay, so I'm just rewriting it here again. So this radical has a +1 with it, so I need to move this over to the other side. Alright, so now this radical is by itself. Now we're going to raise both sides, this is step 2, to the power that will eliminate that radical. In this case, we need to cube both sides. Okay, that eliminates the radical, so I just have x minus 5 equals -8. Add over the 5, and I get x equals -3. Okay, but now I need to check it. So let's check our answer and make sure it works. We're going to plug that back in to the original equation. So -3 minus 5 plus 1, does it equal -1? So the cube root of -8 plus 1, still want to know if it equals -1. That would, the cube root of -8 is -2 plus 1 does equal -1. So that works. Alright, let's do another problem. So now we're going to solve This one is even a little bit easier because it's already isolated. So step 1 is already done. So now I can go on to step 2, and since this is a square root, I'm just going to square both sides. Okay. That gets rid of the square root. And then I just subtract over the 6, and I get x equals 3. So we're going to check it again. And I'm going to plug in my 3. And that would be the square root of 9, which is 3. So that does work. All right, that's the end of our first day on section 6.6.